What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be discussing an interesting comment that came out of one of my videos recently discussing the potential value of Jevon Carter. Basically, we talked about everybody. We've talked about everybody on this team we possibly can, but there are a couple of guys in there that the Chicago Bulls do have that we probably haven't given enough attention to. And one of those players is Jevon Carter. What type of trade value does he have? How can he impact the current team that we currently have? And ultimately, can he see a better season for the Chicago Bulls than his last season that we currently had? Well, I want to discuss a little bit about these things and more in this video. But before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe Jevon Carter has more in him this season than what we've already seen, or do you think he's going to last the entire season for the Chicago Bulls? Now, there is no hiding, there is no denying Jevon Carter, when he had more responsibility, I would say personally, to play in this Bulls team, didn't really get the grasp of things that we probably wanted him to get. He just didn't really thrive in this Bulls team whatsoever. He was more of an inconvenience, I would say, than actually a contributor to this Bulls team. Now, that is not to take offense or to try to hurt Jevon Carter in any sort of way. It's just personally what I've seen out of the course of the season. I would go on a limb here and say if you actually went to Jevon Carter and asked him yourself if you believed he had a good season, he probably would say no. Now, I don't think he would have told you he had an awful season either, but let's be honest, we can see better from Jevon Carter. We have seen better from him on the Bucks. We've seen better with him in a competitive environment. Now that this Bulls team has taken in a new direction, what can we see from Jevon Carter now? Well, this is where things get a tad bit interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't think Jevon Carter is going to be the man that's going to take us into many, many victories, to lead us to success or anything like that. He is a role player at the end of the day, and he's probably going to remain a role player if he stays with the Chicago Bulls team. But what he can provide is something that he mentioned a long time ago, and it's something that I feel like we need to discuss. It is that veteran leadership. He has talked a lot about vocality and how he can be a vocal player for the Chicago Bulls. He didn't necessarily mention leader, but he mentioned a vocal player. He wanted to be vocal. He wanted to be loud. He wanted to be aggressive in the way that he went about things. Well, look, if there's any time to see someone be vocal, it has to be A, the veteran, which is Jevon Carter, and B, it has to be now. It has to be. This team is too young. Yes, you could get young guys being vocal. That's fantastic. But for those guys that are not vocal, how else are they going to learn it? If you have a whole team full of young players, the vocality in the team may not be there like it should be. When you have veterans that are A, vocal, and B, like to be vocal, if Jevon Carter has truly said those things, which he did, and he means those things, which I hope he does, then that is what he can bring to this Bulls team currently. DeMar DeRozan was the vocal one. DeMar DeRozan was the guy that took people under his wing and ultimately trained them, helps them to be successful, helped them with their on-court and off-court duties and all these things. I'm not saying Jevon Carter is going to be the next DeMar DeRozan, because DeMar is just a ridiculously talented player that is, one of the best in the NBA today. Jevon Carter just isn't that. But to say he can't be a vocal player that can help these young guys become more vocal in their own rights, I think that's foolish to say. I think he can do those things. And I hope he can, and I hope he will do those things for the Chicago Bulls players while he is still here. But that begs a different question that we need to ask. And that is, will Jevon Carter remain a Chicago Bulls player? Now, if I threw it up to a poll per se, I think the vast majority of people do not want Jevon Carter here for the Chicago Bulls. Do I want Jevon Carter here for the Chicago Bulls? Ultimately, I think the answer is not necessarily relevant at this point in time. Because as I mentioned before, I don't think Jevon Carter is going to be a game changer for the Chicago Bulls. So whether he stays here or whether he finds a new adventure in the NBA, maybe he does go off to that competitive team that he could probably use his vocalness and even his three-point shooting when he's on one, when he's having a good game, he could be very dangerous for a team. ultimately maybe he does go and find that different journey. But whatever the case may be, I don't think he helps us win 5, 10, 15 more games. I think he helps with, helping the young guys maybe. I think he could help with the veteran side of things, but he's not going to help us win more games. So to me, it doesn't necessarily matter. I think his contract is friendly enough. It's not going to hurt us financially. I think he could be a valuable asset to have around the team, but I also think he could be part of a trade piece that sends someone else elsewhere. Let me give you an example when I say that. Jevon Carter, when in terms of his own natural, let's just say, value, is probably quite low. Maybe you get a second round pick for him, maybe it's cash considerations, maybe it's both. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily, you're not going to go get the most superstar caliber player back for Jevon Carter. You're not going to get much back in return for him. So his value is quite low. But one thing is, he does have a friendly contract. You could use that in a potential trade to bring someone else in. Maybe combine him in a trade for somebody else. Like Zach LaVine. Maybe you throw in a Jevon Carter in there as well to help get, I guess, a good player in return. Maybe if the contracts don't match or anything like that. If you trade Vucevic, but you need to get someone else in there to, I guess, balance the books or whatever the case may be, you could throw in a Jevon Carter in there, and I think teams would be very much on board with that. So his value by himself could be quite low, but his value paired up with somebody else could be the difference in us making a trade or not making a trade. That's how important Jevon Carter can be for the Chicago Bulls team if he was to leave this Bulls team. And like I said, to me, it personally doesn't matter. Of course, I'd like to see the right deal be made, and if Jevon Carter's one of the guys that we have to get rid of to see that happen, then I will be on board with that. But if there is no trade to be made, and Jevon Carter is here to help those young guys, well, I'm not necessarily going to be upset about that either. I will be on board with that also. So that's what his value is. That is his contribution to this Bulls team this upcoming season. To say he has no point, or he has no, I guess, place in this Bulls team is a bit naive to me. I do see a place. I do see a point. And ultimately, I understand that many people want him gone, but I could also understand the value of him staying. So we'll wait and see what the Bulls come up with. With that being said, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for watching. Drop a like and a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.